Following my participation at the World Economic Forum on Africa in June 2009, the press described me as, and I quote, "a remarkable young man who is severely disabled and confined to a wheelchair." In this regard, let me make an emphatic point of correction. 1. I am not disabled. I live with a disability. The former defines me by my limitations, whereas the latter defines me in spite of my limitations. 2. I am not confined to a wheelchair. I use a wheelchair for mobility. The former suggests that I have been imprisoned to a life of misery on wheels, whereas the latter confirms that my wheels have in actual fact given me a life of relative independence. And 3. It is crucial to make these corrections, for they go beyond the semantics of political correctness. These corrections are made in order to tell a different story from the one that we're used to. A story of a world in which the content of one's character supersedes that of one's physical appearance. My story is this. My name is Edward Ndopu. Today, I extend my hand in encouragement. I want to invite you to join me and all my fellow organizers on a journey for the reclamation and reformation of education. All my life, I have seen the limits of human expectation. At the age of 2, I was diagnosed with spinal muscular atrophy. My doctors predicted that I would not survive past the age of 5. Today, 14 years past that dreaded date, I am happy to think that they were wrong. Similarly, my first foray into mainstream education was surrounded by general skepticism about the likelihood of my success. Today, in the twilight of my high school years, I can say with confidence that enrolling in mainstream education meant for me a paradigm shift in self-perception. Not only have I managed to excel academically, beyond all expectation, but I have also found for myself equality in every sense of the word. While I have found access for myself, I remain pained by the constant remembrance of children living with disabilities in developing countries, 98% of whom have absolutely no access to education. I remain permanently perturbed by the monstrous and irresponsible collective neglect of the world's 650 million people living with disabilities. Not only are they denied proper access to information, they are consequently excluded from a multitude of social and economic opportunities. It is in the hope of cleansing the fabric of human society from the shameful stain of this condition that I speak before you today. Together with a dedicated team of advocates, I have launched an initiative we are calling the Global Strategy on Inclusive Education. Envisioned and actualized by students who have a first-hand appreciation for the value of inclusive education, GSIE is a comprehensive campaign for policy reform and implementation. GSIE targets and empowers the individual. In light of this, it is our hope that once you have been informed, you will feel compelled to act. GSIE is designed to aid policymakers in the education sector with institutionalizing inclusiveness by making diversity imperative to the core of all education systems. GSIE's 3 main pillars, mobilization, implementation, and transformation, will aim to provide policymakers with sufficient groundwork for legislative reform in the sector. I invite you today to come and stand with me on the front lines of change, the front lines of hope, the front lines of dignity. Together we will tackle the plight of children living with disabilities so that one day they can grow up to be intelligent, bold, compassionate, and visionary adults with the courage to do what is right. Together, we will ensure that children with disabilities are heard and seen in the classroom. Together we will fight the battles that need to be fought, along with those who only now have an opportunity to fight them. Mark my words, GSIE will be at the forefront of every single country's educational agenda within the next 10 years. This will prompt school districts in developing countries to prioritize inclusive education at the forefront of their enrollment criterion within the next 20 years. It starts now. If you didn't know, now you know. Heed the call to action.